Yo, 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 it's Teach and my buddy
Daz the Hero, and we are back and better than ever. And today we are bringing you guys Whiskey Peak and Little Garden of the Grand Line, kind of Alabasta saga now.
Right, it's an interesting saga because Alabasta takes a couple of breaks in subchapters. These two are often pretty well overlooked, and it's because they're, I think, less than 5 or 10 episodes each. But
Short and sweet.
Yeah, they have some really powerful ramifications and really good world building to do as well. So starting out at Whiskey Peak, they stop at an island just for some rest and relaxation.
It's supposed to be a safe haven for like pirates, criminals, everybody that kind of needs a break before they really try to gain steam and hit like all wheels turning into the Grand Line. And this is where we first see Luffy and Zoro kind of clash because they have a slight difference in philosophy, my bad, in how they should go about doing something. And at the same time, it's foreshadowing for something that we need because, I mean, when the crew dynamics are established but not long term, there has to be kind of some type of healthy competition between the one and the two. I mean, the Sanji and Zoro rivalry hasn't been fully established yet, so this is our first kind of little sneak peek preview of what that rivalry between Luffy and Zoro could be and like their expectations for each other.
And then we continue on with this island past that conflict. We see the crew really taking advantage of the safe haven, quote unquote, and they actually get very, very drunk. There's a lot of problems with underage drinking in this show. We don't endorse it or recommend it, but they are a bunch of teenagers.
Is it underage drinking though? I mean,
hand blasted. Dude, they're 15.
This is a different culture though, bro.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Still.
Is underage drinking a thing if you're a pirate? I think that I think rules and regulations of that kind of get thrown out the window when these guys are just sailing on a ship for life, pretty much.
Regardless, they get hammered, and the crew passes out, all except for the seasoned drinker, Zoro.
Of course.
Who happens to roll real high on his perception check and notices that the staff and residents of the island are attempting to steal from the Straw Hats. And more than that,
our friendly neighborhood badass of the crew definitely can't go for that, so there has to be a display of power in some form as you get into the Grand Line. And we kind of got a peek of what Zoro needs to get to once we got through the Mihawk stuff with Baratier. So Zoro's ideals of what he needs to do and what he needs to be, because that Mihawk damage is still fresh in his mind. He's still recovering from that, so he's got to let everybody know that he's the top dog.
Absolutely. And then he just goes ham bone and legitimately just like kills 100 people in about an hour.
But he's a hunter. He's not a
No, he is a bounty hunter. He's a pirate hunter. So he knows what to do with these people. And these folks actually call themselves by numbers and I believe months and days.
Yes, there's was it Miss Wednesday?
Miss Wednesday and
Mr. Five.
And Mr. Five are actually not these ones. I'm talking because this is where we meet two very important characters that kind of kick off this Alabasta arc that we're talking about. And it is revealed, I can't remember if it's revealed right away or if it's revealed a little bit later on, but these characters, after witnessing Zoro's unmitigated display of strength,
they didn't want any of those problems.
No, they did not want any of those problems. These two folks with very unique weaponry actually surrender and beseech the crew for help in restoring the kingdom of Alabasta. Princess Vivi and her butler, her assistant. He's Mama. He has a big old wig and stuff like that.
Pretty much looks like
all I can think of
George Washington.
Yeah, all I can think of is Klahadore, but that's from Usopp's island. Well, they actually end up joining the crew for a little bit and explaining the system of the organization that they work for as they proceed on to the next island, Little Garden.
And here is where we get introduced to another species outside of the humans, of course, and the fishmen that we got with Nami's backstory. Now we see the giants, and we get introduced to Dory and Bragi, who are two constantly at odds giants who give me a little context.
Yeah, so these two giants are pirate captains that ended up on this island, and they tell the story of a fishing competition wherein they were both sailing the seas and having a wonderful time and were stopping to rest on this island. Both pulled up giant sea kings, and an innocent human child happened to ask, so which one is bigger? Which led to a contest lasting 50 years as they fought each other to a draw over and over and over again.
This is where we also learn that giants age quite a bit differently than humans. They can live a lot longer, and with that like kind of mythical aspect to them, that makes a lot of sense. So the giants are very relevant to the story, not only for the fact that they introduced a new level of power and kind of mythological aspect to it, but they also foreshadow something that comes in pretty relevant to the point that we're at right now in the story.
Absolutely.
For all the manga and anime watchers, of course, now, but for the people that are caught up, they have no idea. But anybody that has seen up to probably the 800s in the episodes will be familiar with how significant the giants, and not just that, but that attack that was used. Elbaf spear. Dory and Bragi used that, and that is something very significant because I think it's a key to finding out the ancestry of Charlotte Winland.
The legacy, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The legacy, the backstory, anything about that. And while trying to find a way to stop these giants from fighting each other, the crew runs into more folks from the mysterious organization that Vivi has joined in order to try and free her homeland. Baroque Works, working for some strange person who's the leader is unknown to them.
Sanji actually sneaks in and gets a hold of that Denden Mushi and has a small conversation with Mr. Zero, as he's known up to this point. And we don't have any context to really what he's doing or what his goals are, but Sanji, who has clearly shown that he's the smartest in the crew up to this point, takes one for the team, and not necessarily showing a test of strength, but a test of wit, as he's able to really
converse, and keep a lot of things close to his chest, and it's not an easy thing to do when you're thinking about thinking about who Mr. Zero is. For those that are in the know, and for those that aren't, don't worry, we got you covered, because Mr. Zero is a very, very important character.
Coming up real soon, very soon.
But there's another important character that they meet on the island that they actually steal the Denden Mushi from with a pretty interesting battle that Usopp plays a large role in, as well as Nami, against Mr. 3, a wax fruit user, as well as his partner, Miss Wednesday, and then Mr. 5 and Miss...
I think it was just
Monday, I believe.
Yeah, it was Miss Monday, Miss Wednesday, and then Mr. 5.
Mr. 5 and Mr. 3.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're going to get a fact check on that here in just a second. But the whole idea with more of these Baroque works showing up is that Vivi is stating that we are getting further and further into the territory of Mr. Zero and the new kingdom of Alabasta, which the Straw Hats have graciously agreed to save.
Exactly.
However, on leaving the island,
which is they're out of Little Garden, because the reason that they're there in the first place, or the saying is what Dory and Bragi told him, is you have to be there at least for a year for that post to show up so you can get in to the Grand Line. So they're still, I guess, technically not into the open seas of the Grand Line. They're on like gardens that are on the fringes of that territory. So this outs into Alabasta is kind of an easier segue into the Grand Line. So they found that new connection that they weren't intending to see I shouldn't say see, but intending to interact with that leads them into the next arc.
Yep, and it was Miss Golden Week for the partner for Mr. 5, actually, or Mr. 3, because she was able to paint his wax creations and bring them to life. So the ideas behind these characters are continuing to introduce more devil fruits, broadening the world in this moment. However, in broadening that world, as they leave, they are taken, almost eaten by a giant sea king, and then the Elbaf spear that you mentioned. The two giants break their weapons in order to allow the Straw Hats to escape. So greatly are they moved by Luffy. However, as they are leaving, tragedy strikes as Luffy has broken the one major rule of any boat. Always, always, always have a doctor. As Nami falls ill, and they immediately have to begin their search for an island to make port in and search for a cure. But we'll be covering that one next week. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Teach.
And as the hero, and you know the lotus always blooms twice.